looking at my watch, Saturday the 18th of October. This month is flying extremely well. So tonight's show is going to be a relatively short show tonight. I just thought it would be really good just to get on, as I've not been on all day. I miss you guys when I'm not on. Had a really nice family day today. Let me know in the chat how your day's gone today. Let me know what you've been up to. Come and say hello. What we do on this channel extremely well is, I think we are logical. Danny B says, big up JB, big up Danny B. Hope you're doing extremely well. I think one of the things I'll say on here that we do extremely well is that we do logically go through stuff. We're not clickbait, and we do talk about stuff. This community is amazing. From my perspective, I'm not a dictator of the chat. If you do send in your chats, I will pretty much read them out. That's why these shows go on for so long, because I respect your opinion and I will read out your chats. Now, tonight is one of those shows, again, the sort of evening shows, the sort of your shows, really. I'll come in with some news or some topics to talk about, but this show really is your show. So get in there and let me know. These shows tend to go off on a tangent, but I am going to keep it short tonight because I'm going to be doing such a long stream tomorrow for the Liverpool game. So if you can join us tomorrow for the Liverpool game, that will be amazing. I'll be doing a watch along tomorrow. I think this is sort of where I think we should really focus on tonight. Is, I know other channels have probably had their opinions on this already, and I think we need to have our opinions, some realistic opinions as to what we think is going to happen tomorrow. Now, I've been a little bit doom and gloom, not doom and gloom, but maybe negative a little bit. I'll try and be positive tonight a little bit as well, just so we can maybe have some positivity to get a win tomorrow, if that's possible. Do I think that, if I'm being true to myself? I think we get battered, JB. Look, I just, Danny, I kind of want to be positivity. Now, if anyone wants to get into the chat, be positive. This is a United fan channel. Please get in there. We do have some amazing rival fans come on here as well. And all I'll say, look, guys, just respect opinions, respect yours, respect the channel's opinions, respect the chat, and we'll get on just fine. Danny B, look, mate, I've tried to go through this today. Dino, you said, how are we doing, JB? I'm doing extremely well. Had a lovely family day today, picking apples. Absolutely wonderful day. So tonight's show is going to be not going to go on for more than an hour. So yeah, so Danny B, look, I'll give you where I'm at on this, and then we can maybe start talking about what we realistically think will happen. So, Danny, the more that I think about this, now I've gone through scenarios in my head today whilst picking apples. I've gone through the scenarios in my head. I've gone for a logical approach. I've gone for if we get a draw, be a good result. Danny, I agree with you. Slot has come out with the warning that Isaac is now 100%. I think there's some dangerous and concerning news that I've read about what Amorim planning to do at Anfield. And the only conclusion that I can come up with tomorrow is, I think the best result that we can get tomorrow is a draw. I'm with Danny on this one. Look, I demand, I've said this countless times, and I will continue to beat this drum, because I think our standards need to increase, right? Is that we need to demand a draw would be a good result. What's your thoughts on Big Ange? Okay, yeah, well, let's pivot to that. I genuinely don't know what's his name? What's the what's the Nottingham Forest the chairman's name? Is it Malinakis? I think Malinakis is what's right with football and what's wrong. I think that to sack the previous guy before, and then bring in Big Ange, I think was always going to be a divisive topic. Now, I think the reason why Ange worked at Spurs for a bit is because he had the players. No disrespect to Forest, as much as Forest did do well last season, I thought he did extremely well. Forest were never going to maintain that, and that's not me. Look, I'm not in a position to be criticising any club, and I'm not. But Forest were never going to do as well, particularly when people were going to come in and take their players, And I think Big Ange is better with better players. Do I think they've jumped ship very too soon? It's difficult to say. It's difficult to say. I think that some managers just don't fit a club, right? You can argue. I think you can argue that some people with Amorim be given too much time. That's not my argument. I'm throwing that out there. When you've got Forest are sacking a manager, as was said there, within 32 days. Marinakis, I mean, that's what happens. That's what happens when you get a chairman of a club. Look, he's done wonderful things for the club, and that's why I say he's what's right with a chairman and what's wrong. They obviously didn't do the homework. And do I think that Ange was the wrong fit? Probably was. I think Ange was the wrong fit there. Obviously he didn't do his homework on Big Ange. So do I think it's right? I mean, the problem is I don't know what's going on behind the scenes with Big Ange. I don't know. So look, I think that is it the right call? 7 games. I don't know what the stats are. So I think it was a mistake. I do think it was a mistake. Do you think United will get top 4 this season? Now, Andrew, right. This is where I'm at on the subject of top 4. Okay, so start of the season from what I saw and pre-season. I watched pre-season, the whole of that, right? The watch-alongs in there from watching them till 3 o'clock in the morning. I've seen these players and I've called it. Now I called. By the time we got to Anfield, we get 8 from 8. We've got 10, right? If we can't win 2 games on a trot, and that's why I'm saying that this game could be the start of something. I don't think we get top 4. I'd love to be the guy that says, look, we're going to get top 4. I want to be that guy. But this channel is about logic. I don't do opinions on here just for clicks. I don't do opinions here because it suits other people. If you look, we finished 15th last season, and you can argue. You look at what Newcastle did the season before that, and they jumped up into the Champions League spaces, right? We finished 15th and pretty much have got the same team. And Dino, I think he's right. We're too inconsistent. If we can put a run together, if we can win tomorrow, it's 2 games in the bounce, and then if we can go to Brighton, if Brighton can come to us, we go to Forest, and then we play Spurs, and we win those games, then we're in that conversation, right? So we've got to look at it probably in sections of 4 or 5 games, right? But that's why the thumbnail says tomorrow, can this kickstart our season? If we can beat Liverpool, right, then in some respects, Liverpool doesn't mean as much if we then don't win the next game. So tomorrow, look, if we win tomorrow, we are pretty much up there. Our position doesn't change as much, but I think we're 2 points off. 3 off City, Liverpool with 2 off them. So tomorrow is I think tomorrow what you're going to see is you're going to see, look, can we go and can we win back-to-back games when it counts, when the pressure is on? Are these players going to fold? And this is what we can talk about that as well now. So I think, and Dino, I think top 6 is a big ask. Palace says, I'm a Palace fan. My friend Palace, massive respect to you. My other half, her family are all from that way. They all support Palace as well. I thought today Palace did brilliantly through all draw. I think it was 2-0 down. A lot of respect for Palace. When I was a kid, when I was about 10, I went on a football tour to Selhurst Park. Brilliant. I mean, absolute respect. And as I've say on here, my friend, rival fans, banter, as long as it's respectful banter, absolute welcome on here, my friend. We have lots of different fans that come on here as well, so welcome here, my friend. Joey says you have 0 chance of winning tomorrow at Anfield. Joey, that's not factually correct, is it? We have a chance. Whether it's a 0.0001% chance. Look, what would I give our percentage chance of a win tomorrow? 5%, 10%. You know, Joey, I disagree. Factually, I disagree, but you are right. You can't say no chance because that's mathematically impossible, right? Because there is a chance. There's every chance. There is a perspective. If you play Liverpool 9 times out of 10, we will lose 9 times, but then we'll win that one. So I think you're wrong, but I think you're right as well. Mateta, yeah. Look, I don't know why nobody went in for Mateta. I think Mateta's brilliant. I think Palace have got such a good squad. I've got all the time in the world for Palace. I think they're a great team. Dino says the problem is, can we honestly look back at the fixture and say we can go and run a 5, 6, 7 games where we are getting max points or near enough points? The answer is no. And Dino, you're right, 100% right. You know, I do agree with Joey. I do agree that there is little to no chance. There is still a chance, right? But in essence, I do agree with that statement. You know, I worry tomorrow. I worry about what Amorim's going to do tomorrow. I think he will play a pivot. I think he will play a pivot of Casemiro. I think if there's any inclination that Casemiro is fit, he will play that pivot and they will get absolutely blasted tomorrow. So I think Joey's right, but factually Joey is wrong. But I don't disagree with Joey. Liverpool will be wide. I expect them to. Rob, good evening, my friend. Look, I expect Liverpool to come out. It is a derby. Form shouldn't matter. Form should not matter in this game. This is like a cup final. This derby is a cup final. You should look. If for example, right, as I say to my children, right, is that I don't care if you don't do well in your exams. I don't care if you don't win races at schools, competitions. I want them to win. But if you've given everything that you can possibly give and give no more, I can't ask for any more than that. And that is what I will suffer a loss tomorrow as long as we give absolutely everything in that game. Blood, sweat, tears. I don't mind if we're not good enough tomorrow. You look at that Liverpool team. What a team, right? If we give everything we possibly can tomorrow, blood, sweat, tears, and we fight for each other, and we still lose, I cannot be upset with that. But that is what I want to see tomorrow. Might be a close one tomorrow. Look, I hope so. I think Andy Robbo plays, possibly. Advantage is that Liverpool are not keeping clean sheets. We can hit them on the counter. Now, I do want to be fair, because at the moment, whenever I talk about this subject, I'm always going, Liverpool, they're a great team, and they are. but I think we can. I'll put a different spin on it as well. Dino says tomorrow, if the players kind of get up for the game, then we shouldn't be here. Not expecting us to win, but I also need to see us at least going into the final whistle. Agreed. Now, where I'm gonna come back and agree with Bright on this one is that if we come out like Arsenal, if we come out like that game and play like that, we've got every single chance. We've got every single chance. Are Liverpool going to suddenly recover that form? I don't think they are. I don't think they are. I don't think Liverpool are going to be peak Liverpool. I think that if they'd have played more consistent games, so if they'd have played, 3 to 4 games more and then we played them, I'd be more concerned. I think the international break has disrupted them as disrupted us, but maybe it's come at a good time for us as well. So I actually think tomorrow could be an even game in terms of I don't think both teams are playing well, but you have to factor in those Liverpool players. You have to factor in that's why they bought Isaac. That's why they bought Ekitike. That's why they got Vert. There is no coincidence. They've got all those players. They've not been playing well, but they still are up there. They are the champions. They're playing like champions do. And we're at their ground. If we were at home, I think we'd have more of a chance. But what the problem for me is that these players go hard in. I need to see Fernandes step up tomorrow. I need to see a performance from this team that says, look, we don't mind if we like what I want to see tomorrow is a team that says we are not getting beat. We're going to do every single thing that we can. We're going to run after these players. We're going to tackle. We're going to give absolutely every last inch because we want to win. And if they believe that they can win, then I think they've got a small chance. But I worry. Cody Gakpo scores and Salah, quite possibly. This is a game where if I can soak up the Liverpool attack and never been mine in the FA Community Shield. I've just skipped that. This is a game if we can soak up the Liverpool attack and get them on the break. We have the players to hurt their defence. Agreed. The one thing I will say is that I do think the midfield is gettable because if Wirtz is not playing particularly well, depending on what Slot does, they're basically a man down there, and I think we can get at their back four. I think you're right, Dino. I think that's our opportunity. We need to defend well, soak up the pressure, and hit them on the break. That is what we need to do, and I agree with you. Palace FTBL says, "What was the best game you had ever been? What was the best game you had ever been to? Mine is the FA Cup Community Shield against Liverpool. What's my best game I've ever been to? I went to. I actually went to the when I was a kid, when I was 15, I think it was. I went to the semi-final when City played Arsenal, and Giggsy scored that goal. That's probably my best match. I went there. It was absolutely amazing. What an experience, the absolute buzz of that. At one point, thinking that this is done, red card, and then Giggsy, then, absolutely amazing. So that was probably the best game for me. Rob says, it wouldn't surprise me if we play a false nine tomorrow. I think you've got a good point there. With Bruno up top and Pack the midfield, how many times in the past have we seen a false nine for the big games? Can you see it happening? JB, I can see it happening, but I don't think we will. And I'll tell you the reason why we won't. Is because the Sunderland game, I think, has given you a glimpse of what he's going to do. What Amorim wants to do, I think he wants to win the second ball. And I think that I think you have look, I think you need Shesko in there because Shesko will win those balls and will win the second ball. So I think what we're going to see tomorrow, Rob, is a lot of long balls. And I think Shesko's job tomorrow is going to be basically win that first ball. We get in there with the second ball. I think Shesko tomorrow is going to be really, really important. Rob, it would look. The thing is, Rob, it's so difficult to judge what this manager will do. I think he'll go with Shesko because I think Sunderland is going to be the yardstick. I think of what he's going to do. I think he's going to get that ball long, and I think he's going to tell the players to get on the second ball, because if you think about Liverpool will be so good on the attack. You know, when we then get this ball back, how do we get out, right? And one of the ways we can manage to get out is we hit that ball long to Shesko. He can hold it up, win that ball, and then we can break and get the second ball. So I think tomorrow, I think he goes Mason Mount. I think he goes Mbermo, and I think he goes Shesko up front. Make Manchester great again. I don't disagree. We just need to be clinical and not give away cheap balls in the midfield. Look, Bright, you're right. If we're playing a midfield pivot tomorrow, we will get absolutely annihilated. The problem is that we can't keep the ball. That midfield pivot, there is no protection, and we can't keep the ball. You know, it is a nightmare. Please hit the like button, guys. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Thank you. Exactly, guys. Get into the chat. Rob is a legend. Yeah, it costs you nothing at all. Joey Keaton says, if United play Casemiro, you'll be lucky to get out 3-0 loss. All he does is foul. He's off the pace. Joey, 100%, mate. 100%. I agree with you. Casemiro is always a yellow card away, right? He looks like he's running in sand. He'll get sent off tomorrow. And you think about who the referee is tomorrow. He'll get sent off. He will do. Casemiro has not got the legs anymore. There are 3 players in this side that I don't want in this side anymore. Luke Shaw, Casemiro, and Fernandes. Fernandes is in the team. I think right now he's pointless, but he's going to play. But Luke Shaw tomorrow, look, people have come on here and said that Luke Shaw has been one of our best players. Luke Shaw has been terrible. Down that Dorgu Luke Shaw side, the amount of times that teams get through that because there's a massive gap, because Luke Shaw just doesn't have pace. Now, Luke Shaw, 1-to-1 up close is fine. But he keeps getting burnt because he's just not very quick. So I think Liverpool will go down that side. I think they'll attack that side, and I think they have lots and lots of joy on that side. Casemiro, if Casemiro's in that team tomorrow, it's curtains. It is curtains. Dennis says tomorrow is a game where we need to take our chances. Yeah, I agree with you. A lot we make them count. If Liverpool get going, it could be a cricket score. Yeah. Throwback football, kick it long behind the defence, test the legs of centre backs. Dino, I think that's what it's going to be tomorrow, mate. I think it's going to be Liverpool who are going to get the look. Liverpool are not going to be scared tomorrow. Anfield's going to be rocking, right? The biggest thing tomorrow, what will these players do? Will they cower and hide like the low IQ, scared players that they normally are? Or will they step up for a match? Can they be inspired and do something in this match? And if they can, I think we can get half a chance of a draw. Bright says maybe it's high time we introduce Kone into the midfield. Is Cunha carrying a knock? So Cunha was, but Cunha's played in Japan, I think, for Brazil, and he's only just come back. Also, I think Cunha's out of favour. I think that Mason Mount is preferred. So I think Cunha, and the problem is with that is the only games we've got are the FA Cup in January. So there's no games for him to play in. So look, I think he prefers Mount. I think Mount is nailed on that side. So I think Cunha could be one of the ones that might not be happy right now. I just hope that Cunha can force his way back into the team. And I think if he forces his way back into the team, I think we're going to see a different Cunha. I would play Cunha tomorrow. Bright as for Kone, look, it's a different world playing under 21 football to playing men's football. I would agree with you if we had players like, like Szoboszlai in there, if we had players like McAllister, if we had players like Keane or Scholes, you could put him in there. I think I'll probably go live about, what's the game, half about half three-ish. So I think I'll go live about half three-ish tomorrow, so about an hour before the game starts. So I wouldn't put Connie in. I wouldn't burn a player. Maybe you're right. Maybe Kone should start. What do we need to do to get this midfield, right? And maybe, Bright, you are correct. Maybe we need to do something different. Maybe we need to give one of the youth players a chance. I think Mainoo needs his chance. And you can argue that Mainoo is more of an attacking midfielder. He's not an 8 or a 6. But the fact that Casemiro is still considered our best centre midfielder is scary. Russell Day says Liverpool winning. I think there's more of a percentage chance of that, my friend. If United win tomorrow, I will sing Glory, Glory, Man United, wearing a Liverpool jersey and post it on YouTube. Now, I've just taken a screenshot of that, Joey. Okay? And I'm expecting that to happen. Okay? I'm expecting that to happen. Jenny says, what do you think Nottingham Forest has sat down with the manager? What do I think of this? Jenny, Forest. As I've said not too long ago, Malinakis is what's right with the chairman and what's wrong. Right? Nuno was a really, really good coach, and Malinakis, I think, burnt him. I think that he disrespected him, and then I think that impacted on the team, that impacted on the coach, and he was almost forced out. I think that was an absolute ridiculous decision to undermine the manager. What he's done with that team was miraculous. So he's pushed him out, and then Big Ange. Now, Big Ange, I think Big Ange is one of those coaches. I think he's good with better players. Now, you could argue that most coaches will be better with bigger players, or right. Now, I don't always think that this is true, but I do, because I don't think some coaches can handle ego. I don't think they can do it in the right way. I think Big Ange can. And I think Big Ange struggles when he doesn't have a team that can maybe do some of the things that he lacks. And what I mean is that I think tactically, I don't think he's the best. And when you have better or world-class players, they can almost fill in those gaps because they're so used to doing it, and they can see things and you can learn together. So is it the right thing to do? I don't like to see a manager sacked so early, but I don't know enough about Forest, and I don't know enough about the inner workings. Is he a pain in the arse? Does he? I just don't know what Big Ange is like behind the scenes. So this could be right. It's a failure, not on Big Ange. I think it's a failure on Malinakis. It's not a failure on the players. I think it's a big failure on him, and it shows you why you need to take your time in hiring a coach. And just because you get a coach that's managed in the Premier League and managed Spurs, and we've got to say Spurs finished, 17th? So, is there a reason why they did that? So Ange has done himself no favours. Forest have done themselves no favours at all. Bright says, look at Man City and Liverpool, they're bringing players into the midfield. Yeah, but the reason is, Bright, but they don't just bring them in. What will happen here? You look at Mainoo and Obi. We bring Mainoo, and then suddenly Mainoo, 19, 18 years old, is apparently the next big thing, right? And he's in that team, and we expect too much of him. There's a common misconception in this club with particularly the class of 92 that all of them came through at the same time when they were 18 years old. Now, Giggsy came through at 17, 18. Now, the majority of them, two things at play here, came through when they were 20, right? So Neville came through when he was about 18, but then it took him a season or two to embed. But by the time he was 20 years old, he was a starter. Beckham started, but then Beckham had to go on loan, and then Beckham came back when he was about 21, 2, and then that's when he got into the side. Scholes was the same. Scholes was about 20. But what you have to understand, Bright, is that Gary Neville come into a centre-back of Johnson, May, Schmeichel was still here, Irwin. So when you've got those players, you can embed young players. Beckham, you had Giggsy, you had Keane, you had Keane was here, so you were able, and then you had Giggsy, who knew these players, was a senior player, and he came through as well. So that you could embed them into this team. You had the likes of Andy Cole, McClare, was here as well. So you had all those experienced players. And if you look at City, and Liverpool, the reason why they can bring those young players in is because they've got that experience. They can coach them through the game. So that's the reason why they can. We don't have that. So that's the reason why we can't. And apparently, and I'll come on to this as well, because I think you've made a very, very good point, the academy. So I'll get through the rest of the chats, Bright, and we can talk through why I don't think that we can bring them through just yet. Dino says, we need legs in the midfield. I would be looking at youth. Got to be someone we can integrate into the team. Dino, I agree with that. Integration into the team, but not starting them necessarily. Usman, legend. No one even talks about how McTominay is such a huge miss. He was never less than 7 out of 10. I'd swap him for Bruno in a heartbeat. He's exactly what Amorim needed in the system. Whilst I agree with you, I do agree with you. And all I'm going to say on that is, look, the fans were misled, and there's a reason why Fergie rated him. All these managers rated him and played him, right? But there's no point in going on, my friend. He's gone. He's done and dusted. He's in his, second or third season. He's gone. There is no point talking about him. I get the opinion and I respect it. But there's no point. He's not here. He's not our player. Amorim decided to keep Fernandes, and now this is what we've got to do. But I do agree with you. McTominay would be fucking perfect in this system. Andrew Kelshaw says, do you think United will win Liverpool tomorrow night? No, I don't. I don't. I really don't. I think we lose. The manner in which we lose tomorrow is going to be important for me. I'm hoping for a draw. If we can get a win, it would be absolutely insane. But I'm hoping for a draw. But it matters about the manner of the draw and the manner of the defeat. Do I honestly believe that we're going to win tomorrow? No. You'll get other channels and other people saying, I've got a feeling tomorrow. I've got a feeling that we're going to win, right? City, I said similar against that, and look at what happened there. So I just don't think we will. Vaughan says, is Mazraoui and Euro fit for tomorrow? Mazraoui, I think, is 60-40, 50-50, I think, tomorrow. I would like him to be fit. If he's not, don't play him. There is no point playing players who are not fit tomorrow. It's going to be an absolute bloodbath tomorrow. Euro, I've not heard anything about him that he's not fit. So I'm expecting him to play. But Mazraoui, there's a doubt. Dalot, there's a doubt on Dalot because he played midweek. But I would expect Dalot to start, or Ahmad, but I think Dalot will start because favourite FC. I think he goes Dorgu on the left. If Mazraoui's fit, Mazraoui will go left. I think he'll go Dorgu on the left, Luke Shaw left-sided centre back, De Ligt down the middle, Yoro and Lemens in goal. Palace's my favourite player was Eze, but now it's Dean Henderson. Another keeper that we had in the books and we let him go. Who is my favourite Palace player? My favourite Palace player was Mark Bright. I used to like a little bit of him. Ian Wright, I remember when he played as well. Fantastic team. Matthias Cunha, number 10. I think Mount with his energy and pressing could be perfect in this game. I don't disagree, but I like Cunha. I think Cunha picking the ball up and running at Liverpool, I think would work better. I think it would. But I don't mind Mason Mount in there. But I'm going to say this about Mount. And Mason Mount's body can't handle it. Mason Mount is very good in that 3x3 square, in that 1x1 square. I don't think he's physical enough. I think Mason Mount flatters to deceive. I think he looks better than what he is. But that's just my preference on it. Rob says, if we get hammered tomorrow, hopefully not. I think the manager will still be safe to you. Mark Harris, legend of the chat. I will come back up to that, Rob. Dino, Amorim doesn't take risks with youth. He doesn't. And Mark's a legend of this chat. Mark's been here pretty much since the first day. And Mark's always said that. He doesn't. And I will come on to that as well because there's talk of from the academy. Nicky Butters has spoken about that, and I'll get through the chat, and then I'll go through that. If we get hammered, yeah. Do I think he's safe? What I think happens is if Amorim gets absolutely smashed, do I think he gets sacked? No. I think then what happens is he's got 3 games to save his job. I think if he gets hammered, and we're talking 5-6-0, I think then he's got 3 games to save his job. That's what I think. I think an absolute battering tomorrow, then he's got another 3 games to save his job. If we draw tomorrow and then we draw, we lose, we win, we lose, or we draw, I think he's fine on that. I'm not saying that fans are going to be happy, but I don't think he gets sacked. So I think tomorrow, if he gets absolutely annihilated tomorrow, and then and then the next 3 games are not great, I then think he gets sacked. And I'll tell you for why. Is because November the 1st, that is when the compensation package goes down. So if it could all align, if Amorim gets spanked tomorrow because of the team that he's picked, and then he, say, draws to Brighton, loses to Forest, loses to Spurs, I think he's then gone. Danny B, sure, Dalot starting, we are screwed. I agree, Danny. I agree, my friend. Absolutely agree with you completely. Mark says, Rob, he should have been fired after the Europa clinging on to crap. And, Mark, I think if you were going to get rid of a manager, and whilst I don't necessarily agree, only on the basis that I thought Amorim would get more players, I think that would have been the right time to sack him. I think that if Amorim had been fired after that, would I have been happy? No, but I could have understood it. I could have. You play abjectly terrible in that final, and let's be fair. And this is not a dig. This is not a dig at Spurs fans at all. Spurs were shit. Spurs basically had half of a team out and they still beat us. So, Mark, I can't disagree with that. And I think people could have lived with that more than what's going on now. Ahmad in Burmo partnership is cooking. We shouldn't disrupt that. Bright, I disagree. I respect your opinion, my friend. It's not cooking. If it was cooking, where were they against City? The Brentford game, where were they? They're not cooking. They're not cooking. They're inconsistent, and I will agree that when they do work together, they work well, but they're not cooking. They're not. Allister says 2007 Cristiano would be a good fit. No, look, mate, you might as well say 2000 Roy Keane would be great. You might as well say 2001 Paul Scholes. Like, I get it, but mate, we're talking 18 years ago. Unfortunately, I think Amorim has the season with the back of Serge. Mark, I think for once I'm gonna disagree on that one. I think we've reversed our roles. You're saying that Amorim will get the season. I don't think he will. If he gets spanked tomorrow and then loses the next 3 games, I think he's gone. I think not even Sir Jim can then protect him. I don't think he can. Liam says Amorim has 4 games to save his job regardless. I disagree, Liam. I agree and I disagree. I mean, that's your opinion. This show is more so about your opinions tonight. I think it's more about the manner of those 4 games. So I think if he draws tomorrow, or they lose 1-0, I think that doesn't count. And then I think we will beat one of Brighton and Forest. We may even get a draw and a win, and then maybe we go to Spurs and we lose. I think he's fine on that. I do. It doesn't mean that we're happy, but I think as long as he's getting points on the board and he's not getting below 10th, or he's maintaining pace with the top 6, I think he's fine. Cooney says, if he starts Bruno in the midfield again, which he probably will, then we won't win. If he starts Ugarte, Mainoo, then we have a chance. Kenya, my friend, you know what's happening. You know what's happening. He's not playing Ugarte and Mainoo tomorrow. If he does, I'll be astounded. But Matthias, we all know, my friend. We all know. He's not going to do that. Liam says, I'm aware the compensation package reduces dramatically after the contract. There is no other obvious choice. Liam, maybe, Liam, you've got a point. Maybe, and I'm going to come at this from another perspective. Maybe Ineos are looking for an excuse to sack him. Maybe they are. Maybe they are thinking to themselves, he's got 4 games to save his job. Have we got an excuse to sack him? So maybe they are. Big Ange is available. So Johnny Hill says, this is why I love your channel. Even when you're Amorim in, out, you provide a neutral take. That's very reasonable from every aspect. Thank you, Johnny. Mate, look, I've got to be true to myself. Right, as much as I do have an opinion, and everybody has an opinion, right? I believe opinions can be changed, but majority-wise, people have an opinion. Just because you believe in something doesn't mean that other people are wrong, doesn't mean that I'm wrong, doesn't mean that we're right. But to really talk about this stuff, you have to see it from as many perspectives, because as many points of views as you get, you can come up with the better decision and a better viewpoint. Because if you're blinkered with this club, if your blinkers are always on and you think we will win, your mental health is going to be destroyed. Conversely, if you think that we're always going to lose and we're like the worst thing in the world, then your mental health is going to be crap. So there is grey as well. The same as my hair. Liam says, Dino says, if we don't beat either Brighton or Forest, prepare for everything to build again. I agree. I do agree. I do agree with you. It will build and build again. It will build and build again. Now, the only way that Amorim can stem this tide is with wins. I think draws sort of keep. So imagine if you're climbing up a ladder, right, and a win pushes you up, and a draw doesn't move you at all. I think that's sort of what is happening, is that the more he wins is the further away he gets from the sack. The more he loses, he goes towards the sack. And the more that he draws, it just stays there. So if Amorim gets to a point where he's halfway all season between being fine and being sacked, and he's just there, I think that's where he's sort of going to be. I think he's basically going to try to limp through to the end of the season and sort of just try to consolidate his position. Rob says, I agree with JB, but after the first day of November, if the results are not great, they might pull the plug. We have a couple of tricky games coming up. Will be interesting to see how it pans out. Again, I'm taking these next 4 games. Liverpool. Look, I'm not judging it tomorrow. I'll be judging the place tomorrow. I'll be judging him on his team selection tomorrow. But it's almost a free hit. As long as he doesn't get totally spanked, I think he's okay. But it's not that game. As pathetic as it is for me to say that, tomorrow's a derby. I mean, we need to be up for this tomorrow. I need to be up for this tomorrow. Now, I don't think tomorrow is a throwaway game. I don't think tomorrow, is a game that we should just draw. I mean, we need to fucking win tomorrow. Like, this is a game where we need to be rolled up. We need to see them as the enemy tomorrow. As much as I respect Liverpool fans on here 100% for those 90 minutes, we've got to go at them. And then after that, respect each other again. But this for me tomorrow is such an important game. I think this can kickstart our season tomorrow. I think this can really do something good tomorrow. But we just got to go and do it. Mark says, so the sale of United is off. Wharton deal is off. Stadium, no news. All spin to deflect this manager. Mark, I don't agree with you on that one, my friend. Look, with the sale, there is something happening. Now, I have made a video on that. I'm not going through that again about all the connotations as to what I think this means. Do I think we're going to sell the club? Probably not. The stadium, there is some news on the stadium, but it's not good news in terms of the Glazers, I think, are going to do the freight line deal, so they're going to get. But the only thing about that is who's going to fund the stadium. Wharton is not coming. I'd love to think that we could do the deal, but what are we going to buy him on? Like, we're going to have less money this season. We made a loss last season. What are we going to buy him on? Chilip plays legend. I hope you're doing extremely well. Stephen Gerrard for the next manager. Jesus Christ, can you imagine that? Yashin says the best is Galatasaray, bro. You know that. Look, Yashin, legend of the chat. Historic team. I'll always say historic team. I know you're a very proud supporter of them, so big respect to you. There's no negativity from me, my friend. So I predict 1-1 for Monday. Okay. Tulip, I hope you're right. Vaughan Lockett says, I think we're all consigned to the fact that we are playing a superior team tomorrow. As fans, we do fear a smashing, as it would feel like we've made no progress against the top teams in the Premier League. And Vaughan, you're right. I think, look, I want to be positive. As much as I want to be positive, I'm realistic now, but tomorrow when this game comes, should we be consigned to losing this game tomorrow? Fuck no. No, 100% not. We should want to win this game tomorrow. Do I want to win this game tomorrow? Yes. Am I going to be sat there tomorrow and I will do a watch along. Am I going to sit there tomorrow being, oh, we're about to lose? No, 100% now I'm saying as you say, there are a superior team. If they play at their maximum potential and we play at ours, it will still be a close game, but they'll win, right? I'm saying from a logical perspective that I think that will probably that we may lose. Am I going to accept it? Hell no. Hell no. Am I going to accept the loss tomorrow? Hell no. Am I going to be watching that game from the start going, oh, no, hell no. I'm going to be watching that game tomorrow, demanding that we bloody win that game, But let's not be consigned. But I get it completely. There are fans, and I may seem consigned at times to a loss. I am a bit, but when tomorrow comes, 100% no, it is game day tomorrow, and we need to demand. Let's not be consigned to a loss, because then that lets these players off of the hook. It lets Amorim off of the hook for the selection of this team as well. Let's not be consigned. Let us demand that we may know that we'll lose, right? That's fine. But let's not be consigned. Let's get on their backs. Let's demand that they do something tomorrow. Let's demand they pull their heads out their asses and they step up tomorrow and they win that game, whether they can or not. They got to believe, and we have to as well. And then after the game, if we get whatever happens, we can then come back on again and say, look, we were right, but do you know what? For those 90 minutes, we were positive. We supported the team. We did our job as fans. They've got to do their job as players, and Amorim has to do his job as a coach. Liam says, Mark, Johnny Hill says, I've seen a YouTuber before as Amorim start to insult me and my lifestyle because I was Amorim out. So I really appreciate when I see channels that accept all opinions respectfully. Johnny, I am, look, there are channels out there that you have to toe their line, right? The only line I ask you to toe on here is respect, right? Respect each other, respect each other's opinions. I respect yours. That's why I read out the chats. I have my opinions on it. You guys have yours, but that's how we can only come to the right decision is if we acknowledge people's opinions, because some of your opinions have changed mine, and I'm not going to change everything, but I think it's really important to have all of the connotations, because I could sit here sometimes and I might think I'm right, but then when I talk to you guys and I read your chats, you may put something into my head and I think, well, actually you guys are right. So you're always going to get that here. If the results go against us up until the 1st of November, then Radcliffe does nothing then, because regardless of how we play, I think they're going to give him the season. Now, I think, Dino, that's a good point. And you know me, I don't hide away. I am Amorim in. I am manager in. I probably want to rephrase it, manager in. I don't want Amorim sacked, right? But the moment these players or Amorim puts their own ideas and their own agendas before the club and before the fans, they've got to go. I don't care who they are, they've got to go. But I don't think Amorim is, so I want to give Amorim the season. But if Amorim keeps losing and Amorim loses the next 5 or 6 games, even I have to admit it is unattainable. You cannot keep losing those games. Whether or not I think he can do something, there has to come a point where you go, something doesn't work. We need to change something. So look, as much as I would try to give him as much time as I possibly could. But if you are Sir Jim, and let's just say Amorim goes and loses the next 10 games, he can't keep his job. He can't. And then if Sir Jim allows him to keep his job, then we're talking about incompetence. As much as I want Amorim to do well and to stay, and I'd try to give him the season if I can, there has to come a point where you have to go, look, as much as I want this to work, it's not going to work. And I think if Sir Jim is pushing it because for his own pride, his own ego, then that's a problem as well. Kenya says, I've backed Amorim so much, but his stubbornness and conceding on Dalot as a left wing back and Bruno as a CM is going to cost him his job. He had the opportunity to get 100 million for Bruno, but he turned it down. Mate, I agree with that 100%. If you listen to the channel, I pretty much word for word say that a lot of the time. Liam Jones says, Mark Harris. Yeah, you're talking to Mark Harris. Newcastle edits. My prediction will be 1-4 to Liverpool. I'm not going to say you're wrong, my friend. Have faith in the worst United manager since 1927. No, thank you. Mark Harris speaks facts. Rob says, I actually think we will scrape a 1-0 win. Super sub Harry Maguire to the rescue in extra time. Can you imagine that? I'd love to. John, I remember playing against East End boys from Belfast in 1998. We drew 3-3. I think I was playing centre back. Wow, Martin. Amazing, my friend. Fantastic, my friend. There was George Best in that was George Best in the first team. Martin, I mean, look, I absolutely love mature United fans, mature fans, who have, you've seen so much football, not only United, but I mean to do that, Martin. I mean, absolute respect, my friend, and that's such an amazing story. I mean, with Best in the first team as well, that is amazing. If Amorim plays a back three of Shaw, Maguire, he needs his P45. Look, Mark, I am. If Maguire starts, this is when I'm gonna start. I'm gonna find it very, very difficult to support the decisions, Mark, if he plays a back three of Shaw and Maguire. East End boys at East Belfast. Liverpool have not been in great form recently. I just think we might just do them. Let's hope they stay in bad form as well. No, I'm not saying that. No, I don't know what that is, so I'm not going to say it. Is that disaster class? I hope so. I really, really do. Garnaman says from Ethiopia, I love Arsenal. Welcome here, my friend. Look, rival fans are welcome here as well. Respect to you guys. Look, Arsenal are a good club. If you're going to ask me who would I want to win the league if you're asking me who I want to win the league, United, right? I demand it every single season, not because I'm an idiot. It's because I want us to maintain our standards. If you're going to ask me from the best of the rest, who do I want to win the league? City, Arsenal, Liverpool. It's going to be Arsenal. Johnny Hill says, to be honest, there's a way to punish Liverpool. We need Mbemo and Ahmad to instruct to double up on Kirkes, allowing him no space. Same on the other fullback. That's where our strength would be. Good comment. Will remember me? Yes, I do. LFC edits. Yes, I do, my friend. Liam's talking to Mark. I do. I remember you from the last stream. Wise, welcome, my friend. Good evening. I am hoping that we can get a good result from last meeting. Was 2-2. David, welcome as well. Yo. I think the score will be 3-1 to Liverpool. Guess what you're saying there? Jay, United legend. Anyone that still wants Amorim is a loser. I disagree. I still want him. I'm not a loser. Jay, it's those preconceived ideas that are very, very toxic, right? whilst I agree with an opinion to disagree, and you can have an opinion on it, and you can say, I don't understand why people like me would want Amorim in. So if United win tomorrow, you do realise we're only 3 points off of City, who are in first place. You realise that, don't you? Right? I'm not saying that we're going to win the league. I'm not saying that we're even going to finish fourth. I'm not even saying that we're not going to lose the rest of the games from there. But Jay, you do realise that if we win tomorrow, we're only Liverpool was with 2 points off of them and 3 points off of City, who were top. And I'm not a loser, mate. I'm not a loser. I could name you many reasons why I'm not. And I think, Jay, opinions like that, very insulting opinions to people, I think is very toxic. And I think the less opinions in the fan base like that are, the better. Because I automatically respect your opinion that you want the manager out, but you don't respect my opinion. So what you're saying is that your opinion is the epitome of all other fans. Your opinion is the epitome, and your opinion is better than mine. Disagree. Everyone who wants Amorim out are fake fans. No, everyone who wants Amorim out are fake fans. Again, David, look, I think having opinions, like people are going to do what they want to do. I just don't like opinions that are just like, this is my opinion and other opinions are wrong, right? Because what that means is that you're not open to a different way, right? So one of the reasons why I say that is this: I'm Amorim in, but if Amorim doesn't win the next 10 games, he's got to go. If I'm so blinkered that I'm Amorim in, and I say just give him the season, he can lose every single game, and we go down, then that's a stupid opinion to have, right? So what I'm saying is the reason why my opinion is not staunch in terms of Amorim in or out is because it can change, and it has to change because we have to adapt, right? So I just think that saying, so let's just say, Jay, let's just say this, right? Imagine now if Amorim goes on and wins the league. I'm not saying that that's going to happen. There's zero chance. So are you then going to still call me a loser and people want Amorim in as a loser? That's all I'm saying. I hope Amorim can do a lot better than Postecoglou. I knew and felt he would get sacked today. Amorim has shown nothing, no promotion of youth back three, risk. He's not a risk taker. He has to go. So, but Mark, again, mate, that is a valid opinion. Mark, you don't need to apologise for that opinion because that opinion is your view. You're not saying if you don't agree with that view, then you're a loser or you're a fake fan, right? You're saying that's your opinion based on X, Y, and Z, and that's right. Like you there's nothing to apologise for because you're just stating your opinion. You're not saying to me that I'm I'm wrong. You're just stating your opinion. Poor Ange got sacked. He did. Jay said even Moyes would do better with his current squad. Jay, I think you're talking out your back end, mate. Exactly, Jay. Exactly. Liam says there, explain. Give your reasons. Jay, I've got absolutely no problem in allowing you a platform to give your opinion. But give context. You've got people like Liam who gives his context. You've got people like Mark Harris who give their context. Give context. Kevin McGee says we're going to get Interesting, my friend. That was his first club. Apparently, George Best was scoring over 7 goals a game when he was 14. That's ridiculous, isn't it? George Best was something else. I mean, George Best was a player out of time. You know, he was a magician. He was a player from the future transported back in time. Who do you think will win the World Cup in 2026? I don't know. I don't know. You've got to take your pick from the usual suspects. I really don't know. I really don't know. I don't. The thing is that I don't know what the draw will be. So, you know, you've got to go. You have to go Germany, Portugal, Spain. I'd probably go Spain. I would probably go Spain. Oliver says, what is your score prediction for tomorrow? I think that we lose 3-1 tomorrow. I hate saying it. I hate it. I'm not, like, right now, I'm being real. Okay. Tomorrow, if you're asking me what I think the score will be now, I think a 3-1 loss. Tomorrow, I'll be demanding a 3-1 win. So I have to be true. I think that we'll lose. I think we'll be in the game for a bit, and then I think we'll peter out. I think Fernandes will go hiding as he always does, and maybe we'll sort of have a good start. Look, I want to be wrong. I want to be wrong, but that's what I think. Why says City, or shall I say Haaland is now in second place in the league? Look, never write them off. I said this at the start of the season when they weren't playing particularly well. Do not write City off. When you've got Haaland in that team and Pep is your manager, you cannot write that team off. You just can't do it. You can't do it. Then it says, what are your thoughts on City's chances? JB painted me to say that it seems that they're starting to get a run of good games. And Dino, mate, you know, I said I believe that the Premier League was going to be one of Arsenal, Liverpool, and then when City started to win against us, I said, you put City in there. I'll always say, don't sleep on City because you can't. I don't know. Arsenal are winning, but I don't think they're looking convincing. I think the problem is this year is this Premier League is so competitive. I think this is one of the most competitive years I've seen. I think whoever wins the league this year is going to have to fight and scrap for every single point. So I think right now it's so hard to call. I'll say I think it's one of Arsenal. I think it's one of City and Liverpool. I think it really depends on who scores the most goals. Now, you can argue Gyökeres, you know, they've got their striker, Haaland. But I do think that Liverpool might have the edge. They've got both Ekitike and Isak. And if those two can find form, I think that might just have the edge. Soccer Pro, yeah. Well, Soccer Pro, you just got yourself banned. So, when I was 13 and the best was 13, I would have chased him like a rebel. Exactly. Soccer Pro, you have just got yourself removed for spamming. Why says we played Brighton after that, and our nemesis Welbeck scored twice. I have some really positive vibes about that match. I hope so. I'm going possibly 2-0 or 2-1. Jay says, job of a manager is to bring the best out of the most creative, unproductive players in Cunha, in Burmo, Fernandes. He clearly is failing at a job. With the first two, I disagree because they're playing in a different system and they're not playing bad. I disagree. They're just played in the wrong system. Fernandes, look, I'm going to come back and Jay at you on this one, right? Fernandes has been shit for 2 years. So is that Amorim's fault? Is it that that Bruno is a stat padder. Where was Bruno when we lost 7-0? Where was Bruno in the final against Spurs? Bruno is a stat padder. Bruno's been shit for 2 years. Probably you can argue longer than that. So what's Fernandes got to do with Amorim? The manager's job is to do that. The manager's job is to set up the team right. But if you give Amorim Emil Heskey, is he going to turn Emil Heskey into prime R9? No. Is Amorim going to turn Luke Shaw into Van Dijk? No. Is he going to turn Casemiro into Casemiro when he was 27? No. So the manager's job is to get players to play in the correct way, but you can't get more out of Luke Shaw. You can't get more out of Fernandes. You can't get more out of some of these players because they're not good enough. Let's be honest, Amorim is getting sacked. No. I'll be honest and say, is there more of a chance from this position to get sacked than not? Yes. But at the sort of end of the day, most managers get sacked. So I shall give Amorim until Christmas and then try and pull his team together. I agree. I asked this with the greatest of respect. How old are you? Agree. Why are you asking what age it is? Ireland, John. If we come out of the traps fast and attack them, I think we can win. Liam's come on, boys in green. Wise fan says, my greengrocer is a Scouse fan and I would like to rub my nose in if we win. He's been slagging United off since the Grimsby defeat. Look, Wise, just for you, I hope that we win tomorrow. But United fans are slagging about Plymouth. Okay. Fernandes is shit. No, he is. Vinny X said bollocks. Vinny X, can you give me more context? I need Vinny X. I need context, mate. Agree with you, JB, and Amorim. I think it's fair assessment. I do. We have to get behind him and give him a chance. I do agree. The men's in goal, we stand a chance. I have no idea with Liverpool's. I think their replacement keeper is okay. Bruno has been shit for 2 years is a crazy statement. I disagree. Liam, look. Bruno is a stat padder. People watch football in a different way. Right? I've watched most of the games. Bruno goes hiding, disappears. Bruno is Hollywood FC. It's all about Bruno. That's why he scores so many goals. Free kicks, shots outside the box. Just because he scores goals doesn't mean he's been playing great. Bruno has been shit, in my opinion, for 2 years. He's a stat padder. You disagree with that, respect that. But Bruno hasn't been good for 2 years. I would love to see a season where Shaw doesn't get injured. What are the odds on that exactly? So tomorrow's game, JB, what is an unpredictable result regardless of performance? An unpredictable result for me is we win. I think an unpredictable result would be we win 2-0. Because 2-0 is probably the hardest scoreline, is probably the most dangerous scoreline in football. I think if we win, so this is in my head, what comes out is that the most unlikely scoreline tomorrow is we win 4-0. Right? Because I just think it would be so unpredictable. Liverpool would have to collapse, and we'd have to be something great. It's never going to happen. Well, it could happen, but it's not going to. So I think probably the most unpredictable result is a 2-0 win. I think Ireland will win the World Cup. You're a mank and that sucks. Okay. George Best would have. Yep. Being a mank in 2025 is like, ooh, there was so cardboard. Interesting. Even though I've been a United fan since 1988, what am I going to do? Am I just going to stop supporting them? Why? I need to understand why are they cardboard. Bruno is the only player that doesn't get injured. He really is Superman. I would love to know how your stat pad works in the toughest league in the world. Don't dismiss your opinion, but I do find it difficult to understand. Okay, so, right. You get players who, look, you don't have to play well to score goals and assist. A lot of Bruno's assists are the assists before the assist. A lot of goals that he gets are penalties, the odd free kick, and shots outside the box. Okay. Other than that, you tell me, and I've watched him a lot. I watch him and he doesn't play well. Everything goes to Bruno, and instead of passing it from side to side, even when he plays in that number 10, I very rarely watch him play as a captain of this club and go, what a performance. He's petulant. He disappears. He moans. He complains. I wouldn't even mind Liam if he fought with like players to defend his position. Where I will concede, and I'll absolutely concede this point, is that Bruno scores goals. Without his goals, where would we be? But just because somebody scores goals, and that's what I mean by a stat padder, is just because somebody scores goals and somebody, does a pass before a pass, does that make them a good player? I'm not disputing in terms of numbers, Bruno is up there, but I've watched him and he's not been great. So if we're talking about 2 years, so let's go back to Erik ten Hag, right? That year, so just from about when Erik ten Hag started to lose the plot the season before, why was Erik ten Hag on the cusp of being sacked, or why were there question marks being asked? Where was Fernandes then? So we are coming up for 18 months to 2 years, but Bruno's been the captain of this side, and he's not been great. He disappears. He disappears in the big games. Does he score goals? He does. But other than padding those stats with a couple of numbers, what does he do as a captain to inspire this team? You tell me. You clearly know nothing about football. Cringe how you lack football knowledge. Disagree, my friend. You've got your opinion. This is your first time on here. It's cringe. It's cringe that you use the word cringe. And it's cringe that you just come out and you just spout shit on someone else's channel. So feel free to go. We can have beaten Chelsea. We can have some scores to settle with Spurs. I hope so. Sound for skipping my message. Did I skip your message? Look, mate, there are loads. Okay. The Saudis are mad, wanting to pay 100 million for Bruno. Look, all I'm going to say, my friend, if I skip the messages, not on purpose, I read most of the messages on here. You go to another channel, will they read your messages without you paying for them? No. So all I'm saying is I do my best. The 0708 team has been mentioned tonight. How would that team do playing today? I think they'd be fine. I think the thing about those teams is what you have to get fundamentally is not just about players, it's about the attitudes of these players. And the 07-08 team, it's not just about players, it's about the attitude of those players. And they'd be absolutely fine. Would they win the league? You can say no. But it's not just about that. It's about the attitude of those players. Liverpool have been beaten by smaller sides this season. We should be able to beat them ourselves. Okay, so I understand where you're coming from. Goals and assists are surely the most important to a team. And he does that, Liam. Agreed. Like, Liam, I cannot I have to be fair to you, and I say that is 100% correct. Look, whether I think he's a stat padder or not, he's still a very, very important player. And he has been. And I don't want to disrespect the things he's done, because he has. But I just think it's now time to move on. If we want to progress as a club, let's be fair, Liam, right? Okay. Last season or the season, right? So the last season, maybe he scored the most goals, the most assists. His numbers are good. Where did we finish? Where did we finish? I completely respect your point, and I absolutely do agree that goals and assists are the most important thing. Whether you're playing good or bad, if you're available, which he is, if you score goals, which he does, you're in the team. But I just think for us to progress as a team, I think we need to do something different. And Fernandes at 31-2, I think if we can get the money, then we need to move on from him. We have moved on from much better players. We've moved on from Kanchelskis. We've moved on from Nistelrooy. We've moved on from, I've said Beckham. We've moved on from Roy Keane. We've moved on from Cristiano. No problem with him moving on. I hear the importance of pre-assist. Our best performance against Liverpool's got to be the FA Cup, so let's try and repeat that performance. Mighty McFly, Back to the Future, mate. My favourite players are Zidane, Scholes, so I appreciate the idea of player dictating the game. Kelvin says, I'd like if you are, but you have the face of a very, very wealthy man and you sound like you have a PhD in something. I think if I become just 10% of you, Kelvin, thank you. Thank you. It's a very, very, very nice thing to say. I appreciate it. I'm educated to a point. I don't have a PhD, but I am educated to a decent standard. I'm not. Am I a wealthy man? Right? How do you measure wealth? Do you measure wealth in money, or do you measure wealth in people? I measure wealth in people. Of course, you've got to have a job. I'm very fortunate to have a good job. Well, I've worked for it. But I'm very wealthy in terms of I have a wife, I have kids, I have you guys on here. Some of you like me, some of you don't. I would like to say I'm very, very fortunate and wealthy. I think for me, wealth is the most important part of that, is having people around you to share the wealth, or just having people around you who care about you. Y says, Ten Hag had a habit of bringing subs on too late when we were losing. Amorim does that sometimes. Bruno is a 10, and we just brought 2 new number 10s, so he can go for me, cash in and get a top midfield player as an 8. I agree. LFC, because you tell me off. All right, mate, I think that's, yeah. Martin says, you make more sense than Goldbridge and other man. Your opinion is very good, mate. Keep up the good work. Thank you, Martin. Meek Mill says, good life. Thank you, sir. I can see Mount and Shesko. Liam says, buying 2 number 10s and putting Bruno in 6 is bizarre. I agree with you on that one. Martin says, John, you're doing really well with this. Thanks, mate. Appreciate it, my friend. I'd be happy if we go 2-9 up at half time, but Liverpool are still lethal. I think you mean 2-0. Lars, I'm not going to read the first bit out, even though I think that name is hilarious. Could we win at Anfield? Anything's possible with this team. Anything is possible. Okay? You can't take anything off of the table. Could we win? I'll tell you how we can win. If Liverpool maintain the form that they have done, we go to Anfield, we don't hide, we play like we did against Arsenal, we can win. Tomorrow, I'll be a different person. I will absolutely be on that tomorrow. But as of here and now, I think logically, and there's more percentage chance that we lose or draw. But tomorrow, I'm going to be on it. I'm hoping that Liverpool come out and play as they have done. And then Lars, I think there is a small chance. Scott, legend of the chat. What's good, JB? Welcome, legend of the chat. Do we need to improve our waveform? We absolutely do. So, guys, I am going to go. I know Scott's just joined, but buddy, I'm going to go another hour and a half. I was just going to do less than an hour tonight, but again, the show's been amazing, and your questions are always fantastic, and the interaction in this chat is amazing. Scott says we will win 2-1. JB, Scott, I hope so, my friend. I really, really hope so. Busy with sick kids, Scott. I wish the kids better. I know what it's like when one of them has it, they all have it. So, Scott, maximum respect. I hope you can join tomorrow, my friend. Legend. You will be getting some FIFA points as well, just because you are a legend. So, Anfield is just another ground like any, so I don't see why we can't. Well, because our players can't handle it, mate. Our players cannot handle it. So Kevin says, I'm completely straight, but I think bro is one of the most good-looking men in well, Kelvin, mate. Kelvin, thank you. You need to tell my other half that. You need to tell my wife that, just so she knows. But no, I look, for sometimes on here, the comments that we get, and particularly towards me, can be quite mean. So Kelvin, I will take a positive opinion, and I really, really do appreciate it. Time is kickoff tomorrow. Time is 4:30 tomorrow, and I'll be on about 3:30 tomorrow. I will do a thumbnail and stick it up as early as possible. Another great show, JB. I'll be joining you tomorrow. Fingers crossed we can do something. I'll be different tomorrow. I'll be ramped up tomorrow. I would love us to hammer a Liverpool 10-0, but I know I'm dreaming. I think you are, my friend, sadly. I'll go for a 2-0 United win, or 2-1 if VAR is with us and having a Stevie Wonder ref. Maybe on FIFA, I'll definitely be here tomorrow, JB. Thank you, Scott. So, guys, amazing show. I love these evening shows. Brilliant, guys. I love just, there's no Ramsey Nesbitt. I love it. There's no agenda, really. We talk through stuff, but I think tonight, Liverpool game, get it off of our chest, and we'll get ready to go tomorrow. So I'll see you tomorrow. Exactly, Rob. It is, as I always say on here, it's really important, particularly after this. There's so many different things that happen. We agree, we disagree in life. I may, things can happen in life, and you may never see me again, right? So that's why I always say that in life, you can't buy time, and you can't buy health, and it's really, really important for me to acknowledge you guys, because you don't have to be here. I say that you can't buy time because you're not going to get this time back, right? You choose to spend your time here, whether it's a minute, a second, an hour, you're not going to get that time back. So the fact that you send that you give me that time, it never gets old. It never gets old, and I can only thank you so much for being here, guys. So yeah, I will be back tomorrow about 3:30. Thank you, guys. I mean, look, guys, the thanks comes from me, because without you guys, this channel doesn't exist. This channel, is getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and without you guys, it doesn't happen. So, thanks once again. Have a good rest of your morning, evening, afternoon, wherever you are. I'll be back tomorrow. United, come on, we can do this. Now, this is going to be the start. I'm going to be positive. I think we can win. I think we can absolutely look. If we have a go, tomorrow, I don't see a reason why we can't get something. So let's go for it tomorrow, guys. So I will be back tomorrow, buoyed, happy, and we'll go for it tomorrow, guys. So have a good rest of your evening, and I'll see you tomorrow. Take care, and see you on the next one.